I never knew nothing about human trafficking. I never knew that I was being exploited. I never knew. I didn't wake up and be like, oh, this is what's happening to me. It's something that I thought was normal.
80,000 reported missing people on any given day in the United States. At the same time, there are over 10,000 unidentified bodies. There is no national law requiring agencies to share this information, leaving many families in the dark about their loved one's fate.
Today, family and volunteers, they reported cadaver dogs detected a few locations where human remains might have been buried.
You could have a body that was on one side of a county line, and the next county could have had that individual reported as missing. And no one may have talked to each other.
And we just haven't forgotten, and we're not going to stop until we know what happened.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Gone Missing Pod. My name is Nicole Mancha Mercado, and I am joined by the lovely Alyssa Gutierrez.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Just feeling, I don't know. The end of summer is rapidly approaching, and I have this like I'm missing something. You know what I
haven't done
mean?
enough. I feel the same way. No, I feel the same way. And, this is like the first like real week of school because, the first week is always kind of like just going over syllabi and like that kind of stuff. And now I'm like really into like, wow, I'm like in class, I'm in class. This is real. This is happening. And I just like keep going over my schedule. And I actually ended up buying like a very over the top planner that goes by the hour. Because my schedule is so insane.
Extreme organization.
Well, it's like
but it's effective. You do what works, yes. And that's great.
I do what works. So it's like between the podcast and I do editing on the side, and then I do my own separate editing, and then I do stuff for my brother and some of his copy editing, and I do stuff for the school, and I have class. It's just like there are so many different factors that if I don't have it scheduled out by the hour, I just don't know what I'm doing anymore. So it's been a little overwhelming lately. And I also feel like you do, like I don't feel as if I've done as much as I wanted to with my summer.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a bummer. But
do you like, remember when we were kids, summertime was like, this is when I take a break from work almost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this summer you worked even harder, and this summer I worked even harder. And winter and fall is usually when I'm like, okay, Alyssa, it's time to like put your head down, just focus on work and whatever. But I already did that all summer.
It's interesting.
So I'm kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I need to have some fun before we get into, dark,
full on winter,
dark days.
Well, I also think so. I did not work as much as I normally do over the summer, but there was a lot of like family stuff going on. And like everyone is fine, nothing bad. But at the time it was just like a lot happening. And so I think just my priorities kind of shifted to do like more, like to be more present. And that still takes time, right? Like that still takes time out of your day, and there's things going on. So I think part of it was also that I was just feeling really overwhelmed from like, wow, there's like so much happening, so I agree. I mean,
there was a little bit of the world is open and now we have to we're seeing all these people. I felt that as well. I get what get what you're saying, like family, even more, just a little more,
Yeah. And it was just like stuff like, we have our own like interesting like living situation right now. And so we, have to create a studio every time we record. So there's just like more factors to just living life normally. And I think that has caused a lot of like, even though I wasn't working as much, getting everything organized, getting everything kind of the way I want it and the way I need it has taken a lot longer than I thought it would. So my summer is now like ending, and I'm like, I'm okay with it, but I think it just means like for the fall specifically, like especially the fall, is I want to try to do like fun things, and I want to try and give myself like right now with the way my work schedule is kind of set up, I will have to work like Monday through Thursday, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for the most part, even if I work, it will be remotely.
Oh man,
So
that sounds like road trip season.
that's kind of why I'm like, okay, maybe like, if I can keep this up, it's like, I don't mind working if I'm like not here. So, trying to maybe find things that I can like get some work done, get some things done that doesn't have to be like here necessarily. Maybe like, Mike and I can take a trip with the dogs, just something, but it's definitely feeling like, wow, it's been a very fast summer.
Definitely. Well, all the good things do come to an end, I suppose.
I know. So, all right, why don't you get into who we are talking about today?
Great. So today we are talking about a woman named Alma Elsie Ayala Ayala. Okay, so heads up beforehand, Alma is from Puerto Rico. And so she went missing in Puerto Rico, and all the information on her case is in Spanish, which is
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
But this is a translation, just so people are aware. There is still very, very limited information out there, but I just didn't feel like because it's not in mainstream media, meaning it's not in English, doesn't mean her name shouldn't be out there. And
Yeah.
so that's why I took the time to be like, all right, let me properly translate this. Thank you, Google Translate, for the assistance, because even though there's very few details, I still think her name deserves to be spoken.
Absolutely. And it's like Alyssa, and like, I don't know, I shouldn't speak for you. Speaking for myself, it's like I can read some Spanish, but not enough to translate on the level that I think Google Translate does not always do a perfect job, but it does a better job than I can necessarily do. Like my Spanish is very much like I understand context, I understand what we're talking about. I just don't understand the little details. And in writing, like reading it, I can read a little bit more than that because I think I have time for my brain to like figure out what I'm reading. But still, like there are going to be some things that will be lost if not translated. So I agree with you. I think that it's great that you were able to translate this as effectively as you did. And then also just like, you're right, it's not just because it's not here, right? And it's not like in our mainstream media or anything like that, this person still deserves to have the platform so people can know who she was.
Definitely. And even more so because she's still a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
For people that might be straying, well, it's a foreign country. No, it's not. No.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it frustrates me. It should be mainstream media. It should have been published in English as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I agree with you. And it's like, that was something very shocking that I realized just a few years ago that not everyone realized that Puerto Rico is part of the US. Like you don't need a passport to get there. You know what I mean? Like, and people were just not as aware of it as I think, they should have been.
Right.
So yeah, I think anything that's also happening within our territories should also be information that everyone knows.
So Alma was reported missing in January of 2020. She was 69 years old at the time. She was last seen at her home on Florida Street in the Cantera sector of Santurce. So she was actually reported missing by her son. It's Ivan. Yeah, Ivan Cruz. The accent's on the A. And now this isn't fact. I'm just guessing, but one of the articles did come up translating him as like police bureau agent. So I'm wondering if he was an officer of some sort.
Maybe associated with law enforcement in some way.
Yeah, probably. And, so his mom went missing. He describes her as having a brunette complexion with black hair. She stands at 5'2" tall, and she's only weighs about 120 pounds. So I'm
small. Yeah.
69-year-old woman. Okay.
And I'm sure you don't have this information. So, I don't know why I'm going to ask, but I'm going to. Did she have any like health issues that they knew about, or like, that she like could have been the cause of her disappearance?
No, I mean, she didn't. Nothing came up in her history.
Okay.
Nothing came up in her history, but I don't think that's the case. So, okay. So I think what frustrated me really is that the article wasn't actually about her. It was about the suspect.
Okay.
And so there's a man named Sixto Gonzalez Massa, and he's the suspect in her disappearance. So he was known as a friend, but he could have also, could he have been a male friend? You know what I mean? That her romantic interest friend.
Right. Someone that maybe that she
Mhm.
had been seeing. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, I don't know if it was platonic or romantic, but Alma's family believed that she had went to visit him. And it's unclear, did she walk? Did she drive? Did she get a ride there? We don't know how close they lived together. But we do know he is 70 years old, so they're similar in age. And he has a farm in Hagüeyes Abajo neighborhood of Aguas Buenas.
Okay.
And so he was a suspect, and the homicide division of the San Juan Criminal Investigation used canine dogs to actually come and search his farm.
Okay.
So I believe they were coming to search his farm because he's a suspect, in her going missing. While they were there, they ended up actually arresting him for possessing ammunition. The article did say that they seized 7 firearms, but that he had a license to own them, but I don't think he had the appropriate whatever you need to possess the ammunition needed.
That's interesting, because I don't think you need a separate,
I know.
Here you need a FOID card, but unless the ammunition was not for those weapons and it was for weapons that are not allowed on that island.
That's what I was thinking. Or for whatever reason, were they bought legally, meaning he had papers for them, but could he not possess them? You know what I mean? Could he not use them?
Right.
So either way, they arrested him for that. He was held on a $20,000 bond, and because he didn't pay it, he's being held at Bayamon prison. While investigators were searching his farm, they did find a blouse in a septic tank or a well, based on the translation.
Okay.
But obviously, whatever source of water he had there, they found this blouse. And so the article just stated that they are having it examined to determine if it is Alma's shirt.
Okay. So, and did they find this around the time that she went missing, or several months later, or is it not super clear?
Ooh.
When the investigation happened, was it right after she went missing, or has it been ongoing? You know what I mean?
Well, the article was published in 2021, and she was reported missing in
2020.
So, at least a year, I guess, has gone, the investigation has been going on, or maybe that was the opportunity law enforcement had at the time to search him. So they took him for, possessing ammunition. I'm just guessing,
Yeah. No, I understand these translated articles can be really difficult to try and figure out exactly what the meanings are, especially because we personally, just as a, for everyone who doesn't know, the Spanish that I understand and predominantly Alyssa understands is Mexican Spanish, and Spanishes are very different, and the linguistics are very different. When my father-in-law is Puerto Rican, and when he talks, I have a really hard time keeping up with him, whereas my mother-in-law is Mexican and Costa Rican. I can keep up with her a little bit easier just because the linguistics are different, so my family is from Mexico, so I understand that Spanish a little bit more, and sometimes the translate, I think the default is typically Mexican Spanish. So,
but even then, it's still different. I mean, my family's from Texas. Their Spanish is different, than if you were to walk across the way.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's one of those things where that makes sense to me that it might be, we're not quite sure, but even so, this just goes to further show if they haven't determined if it's Alma's or not. That article was over, was a year ago.
True.
This is how far, but again, it's resources, right? Do they have the resources to do the testing? Is it part of, other investigations that are, also ongoing that need to be tested first? It's an extremely frustrating part of our system that we don't have the resources and ability, or maybe they're just not being put to where they need to be able to provide answers when we have evidence that should be tested, and we're not able to do so for long periods of time.
Right. And again, in this case, we honestly just don't know, because so the source for these two articles is elvocero.com. And so if you look up their website, it specifically says El Vocero de Puerto Rico. So they, report on Puerto Rico, but as a Spanish news station, I think they primarily are aired in Latin America or like maybe even the South, whatever. If you're not watching this, I don't watch the Spanish news station. So we don't always know what they're reporting on is what I'm saying. There hasn't been another article published since 2021 with either his name or Alma's name. So you're right. In a way, we can assume there hasn't been any movement on the case, or nobody has reported on it from this news outlet, which is sad.
Which is also a whole different conversation that we talk about on a regular basis. Is if that is the case, and if that is not happening, then why don't we have more answers in general?
Yeah. So if anyone has any information, the contact agent is Rafael Ortiz Pinheiro of the San Juan CIC. He can be reached at 787-793-1234. Again, I'd like to thank El Vocero as my source for Alma's story. And really, my heart kind of really goes out to her son. Like, I wish him so much the best and looking for his mom, I feel this is frustrating. And, it's his mom that he's still trying to look for.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing up Alma and her case. And hopefully, her family is able to find answers, especially in this really just like, it's just a very, very sad case. And it, it feels like there is information and they do have some info, but like not just exactly what they need to be able to provide answers.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for bringing up this case, Alyssa. I so appreciate you as my co-host.
I appreciate you too, Nicole.
We want to say thank you to the Mercado Airwaves Network for hosting us each and every week. And we also want to say thank you to our editor and producer, Mike Mercado. If you want to check out any of our old episodes, you can go to Instagram or Twitter at The Gone Missing Pod or Facebook at The Gone Missing Podcast. You can also become a patron and support us on patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves Network, and then find us at The Gone Missing Podcast. Thank you all so much. We're so appreciative of this community, and we will check in with you all next week. Thank you. Bye.